We are back. It is Thursday, 12 o'clock, with our real estate Q&A question session. This week is no different from any other week. We're back at it, talking about anything and everything real estate. If you guys got any questions, concerns, anything regarding real estate, whether you want to get into the game, whether you're already in the game, whether you're looking to buy your first house, whether you're looking to get into wholesaling, flipping, rentals, anything like that. We're doing this every week consistently. I think we're on week 5. Last week I did the same thing, of course, and I went through a whole hour-long session, and I was not able to save that session, and we had a lot of good views. Definitely had a lot of good questions that were asked, and for some reason at the end of the session I tried to save the video so I could post it on the timeline for you guys to watch, and unfortunately Instagram crapped out on me and I was not able to share it. It literally took me from the video ended to the timeline and did not offer me the ability to save. So this week, I'm going to try something a little different and try to end it right before it hits the 60-minute mark. So that way, Instagram will give me the option to save the video so I can post on my timeline. So for anybody that is not able to make the session at 12 o'clock, can go back and review and look and see what was asked and answered. So, again, back at it. Just want to talk real estate, anything regarding that. If you guys got any questions, concerns, of course, this is a free space to do so. Ask. I see we already had a couple people on. Gemma HA97, what's going on? I know you're out there in Colombia. What's going on? Who else we had? DMS Crown Hold. What's going on? I got somebody else just joined on. T Charo. What's going on? Again, if you guys are new to this space, every Thursday, 12 o'clock noon, we're talking anything, everything real estate. Ask me if you guys ever wanted to get into the game, if you guys are planning on getting in the game, or if you're already in the game. I'm here to basically answer any and every question that I can within my power and knowledge. Again, I'm not an expert. I am just somebody that knows a little bit more than the average person. So, in that regard, I want to use this space to help you guys out and answer any questions, or if you guys want to talk about my experience or talk about your experience, some of the roadblocks you guys might be having, anything like that. We got Rich Homie Quan, who just joined, my boy Quan, who's actively in the game, well, trying to actively get in the game. I know he's down there in Florida, Tallahassee, I believe so, and he's looking to buy some rental properties. He's also trying to get in the game as well. So what's up, Quan? Remember, if you guys have other people who are also interested in getting in the game, please let them know what's going on. You can share. This is not like Facebook where you can share the show or stuff like that. But however you need to send out to your other friends that want to get into real estate or are into real estate, do that so they can come to these, these sessions on Thursdays at noon. What's up, Reggie? Reggie's another guy trying to get into the game. He's been talking to me extensively as well lately about buying up here in Baltimore. Him and his fiance. I don't know if I'm disclosing too much information, but just want to show folks that haven't been here that the people that are joining are trying to get in the mix. I am Janae. What's going on? How you doing? I see you're waving. I don't know if this is your first time showing up, but welcome. Again, 5 minutes in and we got a couple people on. If this is your first time, feel free to drop a question in the comment section. Feel free to join my live if you want to talk live and do this little split screen thing if you want to. That's perfectly welcome with me. You can ask me anything. I'll do my best to answer it. Looks like we already got a question from a boy Reggie. What's the up and coming areas in Baltimore to buy? So the crazy thing about Baltimore is that Baltimore has a little bit of everything, right? A little bit of everything at affordable prices, as opposed to some of these other markets where it's just like no matter whether you're doing a flip or a rental, the price point is here, right? Here in Baltimore, you got different types of areas that produce different type of properties and intense, right? So there's areas that are heavily rented. There's areas that are heavily flips. There's areas that are like kind of like a mix of both. So it's got a little bit of everything, right? And all these areas have affordable homes, right? Affordable homes that you can buy at price points that are fairly cheap, right? So Baltimore, that's what Baltimore is known for, as opposed to like areas like DC. You know, Baltimore is similar to Philly, where you got different areas, different pockets that yield good price points, enabling you to either flip or rent in those areas. So when you talk about Baltimore, again, the whole city is very vastly different. So downtown, of course, unless you're doing like development projects, you're not going to fit in unless you're doing stuff downtown like that, because obviously there are bigger development buildings down there. But if you start moving out into some of these other pockets and areas in Baltimore, you'll start to see some consistency in rental areas, flip areas. So like when you look at Baltimore, right? Bunch of different areas, bunch of different zip codes. I'm not going to say one of the main areas. It's all about preference, right? So some people like buying in the city, some people like buying in the county, right? You got to figure out if that's you, right? There's pros to the city, there's pros to the county, there's cons to the city, there's cons to the county. Let's throw out a couple areas, right? A couple hot areas in Baltimore. I will say Middle River, Essex, Dundalk. Actually, before I even put Middle River first, there's no preference on which one first, right? So I'm just going to start spitting some areas that I feel like are good areas for you guys to look into, depending on what your strategy is and what you're looking for. So like Dundalk is hot. Dundalk is on the east side of town, farthest east side of town of Baltimore, near the county. Dundalk is an area where you're going to find a lot of people trying to buy out there, a lot of competition, a lot of investors are like stuck on those deals out there. So, I'll tell you this, a little tidbit, right? Because I've done some work in Dundalk. My first flip was in Dundalk / Middle River a couple years back. But you're not going to find anything less than $60K out there in Dundalk. Right. And if you do find something less than $60K or even around the $60K range, you should probably be hopping on it. Right. So Dundalk is a good area. There's some pockets in Dundalk that are not as favorable as other pockets of Dundalk, like Turner Station. Lower price points, a little bit more urbanesque type neighborhood. But Dundalk's a good area. Essex is also a good area. If you start looking at like Canton, I know Reggie was looking at, he sent me some deals over in the Canton area. Canton is hot, right? Canton is a place where a lot of flips happen, right? A lot of flips happen in Dundalk. I mean, not Dundalk, but what was I talking about? Canton. Those are your like smaller row homes out there, but their price points are a lot higher because it's a very, 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 very desirable neighborhood for people to actually move into. So you see a lot of younger generation, our age folks buying their first house out there. You see a lot of professionals buying their house out there because it's a nice area. There's a lot of walkable things out there, bars, restaurants, things like that. So it's kind of like a hip little area. You'd essentially want to be out there. But the thing with Canton is when you're doing flips out there, you're not doing crap renovations or cheaper renovations out there. You have to have the same standard rehab as everybody else. And out there, you're not going to do a $20K renovation and think you're selling for $300,000, right? No, there's certain things. So, out there, if you're flipping, you gotta have a rooftop balcony. It's just standard out there, right? You gotta have a chat credit, right? It's just standard out there. So you got your areas like Canton. You got your areas like Fed Hill. Fed Hill is another area where it's just a desirable place where people want to move. So flipping in those two areas are going to be great. Even rentals. If you got rentals out there, you're not going to have any problem renting because a lot of people, it's just a desirable neighborhood, right? Let's see some other areas like Bel Air Edison. Bel Air Edison is a place that's primarily rentals. There are a couple flips, but for the most part, Bel Air Edison is a place where a lot of people rent because there's an influx of row homes out there that are usually Section 8 tenants or absentee owner homes. I have I believe like 2 or 3 rentals in that area. So Bel Air Edison is a place where a lot of people tend to buy rentals for. If like another rental centric area. Let's see what we got. West Baltimore. West Baltimore depends, right? Lower price points. You can find houses out there for 20, 30K, 50K, 60K. But your ARVs out there are typically lower ARVs. What's up, Golden Boy? My man, my Neo. What's going on, man? How you living? You got different price points out there, cheaper homes, but it's a little bit more activity out there versus other areas. And when I say activity, I'm pretty sure you guys can kind of figure that out. And then you start moving up to like the suburbs. So like Parkville, Candanceville, Hamilton. Hamilton's a nice area because a lot of hipsters live out there, and you can move out there. It's a lot of bars, a lot of restaurants and things like that, attractions. So that's a very desirable place. Do you think the Johns Hopkins areas? Yes. So anywhere around Johns Hopkins is probably going to be a good area to invest. Hopkins has different campuses around Baltimore. So if you're looking like where the main hospital is, the main hospital is in an area where a lot of the homes are very, 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 very cheap. A lot of activity, right? But what's going on is that Hopkins is buying around that area, and they're developing around that area as well as other developers. So they're taking these whole blocks of abandoned row homes and consolidating them and buying them as a package deal, and they're renovating them and renting them out, right? And so anytime you start to see developers actively, like not just talking about it or showing you plans, but you actually start to see development going on in those areas, even though there are a lot more urban areas, you kind of want to get into those mixes. But again, cheaper price points, but a lot more activity rental wise. Those are areas that are still kind of like, you want to rent versus like flip or versus like live. I don't know what you guys' tolerance is when it comes to living in certain areas, but again, Hopkins is always great, right? That's the hospital side. You also have the campus side of Hopkins, which is also a great area. Now, that's a good area to live because not only is Hopkins a main campus out there, and it's consistently patrolled by police, and it's consistently, it has security guards on literally every corner. Just standing around, patrolling. It's a very secure area. You got Charles Village. So Hopkins campus is next to Charles Village. Charles Village is a great place to invest, right? That's a good place to live. It's kind of like a mix between both, right? It's got some activity depending on which pockets you're in, but it's also got some more quieter areas that yield, better returns on your investment. So Charles Village is fairly close to, it's actually a couple blocks down from Hopkins. That's a great area. And then you also got the west side of Hopkins campus. I forgot the name of the area, but that area is also a good area to look into because you got new developments like the R House. You start seeing R House is like a big development that has a bunch of different food eateries and things like that. Not chain restaurants, but different eateries and local vendors go there. They also got this big CrossFit gym they put out there, a bunch of restaurants. They also got a community workspace out there. So like those areas are that area is great because you start to see how like there's like a nucleus there, and then everything around it's, moving. And so in those type of areas, you got like smaller row homes, 850 square feet to 1,000 square feet, small, but very desirable for people people that do go to Hopkins, and for also people that want to live out there. So yeah, different areas, different neighborhoods. Hopkins is always the best bet. If the closer you can get to Hopkins, probably the better. Regardless of where you're at, it just depends on like what you're looking for. Again, Hopkins Hospital is different from Hopkins campus. They're two completely different areas, right? So let's see the bathroom you did and the things you did to the house. We're not done yet. So Pops is my pops has basically been here for, actually tomorrow is going on 2 weeks. I'll go ahead and say at this house that I'm in right now, I'm actually going to be moving into. We're in the process of trying to finish up and get done so I can move in by Tuesday. So me and Pops have basically been in here humping, grinding, like for literally 2 weeks straight, doing the bathroom on the tiles, doing all the necessary things, ordering appliances, butcher block countertops, all that kind of stuff. So yes, Reggie, I know you want to see the bathroom, but it's not done yet. It's not done yet. So when it's done, it should be done in the next probably day or two. I say 2-3 days. Then I'll show you guys. So by next week, Thursday, on that session, you should be able to see the bathroom. If you are following me and you're looking at my stories, you can definitely check the progress. I like to do time-lapse videos of us working, so you're not sitting there bored to death for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Are you the property manager for your properties? I'll get to that question. Josh, we got Josh joining. What's going on, Josh? That's my line brother. He's always trill, my boy. Who else we got going on? 3 Ella.OG. What's going on, Ella.OG? How you doing? So yeah, for anybody that's new, that's popped in here, basically what I'm doing is I'm talking anything, everything real estate, giving you guys access to me and my experiences, and also a space where you guys can share your experiences or share your questions or share anything you guys might have regarding getting in the game of investing in real estate, buying your first house, buying your 50th house, renting your first house, renting your 50th house. If you've done some wholesale deals, or you want to get into wholesaling, or if you want to know about financing, all that kind of stuff, I'm enabling you to share those thoughts, those questions, those concerns with me. Not a guru, but I'm able to answer more than a couple questions when it comes to this kind of stuff. So back to Reggie. Are you the property manager for your properties? I am not. I have two property managers, two completely separate companies. Preferential, you don't have to do that. I did it because my first property manager managed my first property. Actually managed two of my properties, and they only manage in certain areas. So, right? Fine, cool, right? So I give them the properties that fit within their criteria in certain zip codes, and so they manage those properties. Well, I have another property manager that doesn't really have a area criteria, and so I enable her to manage those properties in those areas. So again, all property managers are different. They all manage in different areas, and some just don't care. They'll manage anywhere, everywhere. It doesn't matter whether you're in, the deserted block of Baltimore, or you're in the fanciest area. They'll manage anywhere. So that's why I have two, because different property managers manage in different areas. I personally do not manage because I have been through that. I have learned a lot from managing my own properties, and I have decided that I don't want to manage properties. This is a personal preference. Again, I run into a lot of investors that manage their own properties. Doesn't mean I have to. And they do it for a multitude of different reasons, right? Some have the time, and some just want to do it. They want to be hands-on. They want to be, in the know. They want to manage the tenants. They want to have that relationship there. And then you also got other ones that just say, hey, I'd rather manage it because I don't want to pay 10% to somebody every month. 10% adds up over a year. So if you're giving somebody, if your rent's $1,000 and they're collecting $100 every month, that's $1,000 at the end of the year. You spread that across 10 properties, that's $10,000 in somebody else's pocket, right? And some people do the math like that and they say, hey, I'd rather keep that $10,000 for my 10 properties in my pocket and I'll manage myself versus give it to somebody else. Right. So it's all about what you want to do. Just because you have properties doesn't mean you have to have a property manager. You can definitely manage yourself. I highly recommend you manage yourself. If you've never managed before and you buy your first house, you buy your first rental, manage it yourself. I don't care if it's for a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever. Get the experience because no one's going to treat your property like you are. Right. And you also need to know what goes into managing tenants, right? Because how are you going to hire somebody to manage your property if you don't even know what it takes to manage? They could be mismanaging your house and you not know what's going on, right? The nuances and the documentation and all that kind of stuff, you need to get familiar with that because these are the things that will come back and bite you in the butt if you either one, don't do it the right way, or if your manager's not doing it the right way. You'll find yourself in court, or you'll find yourself with tenants that's not paying, or you'll find yourself with, having bad relationship with tenants because, they want this and you not giving them that because you think this and you think that. Bunch of scenarios, right? I highly suggest you manage yourself first. And then if you don't like it, go hire a manager. If you do like it, keep doing it. You can like it and still go hire a manager, but you have the experience, right? I managed my first property. That's how I got the experience of knowing I don't like managing. And then I went and hired a manager and kind of left it there. It also depends on your lifestyle, right? Are you busy? If you're too busy, hire a manager. If you're not, cool. If you can fit it in, do it, right? It's up to you, right? It really depends on what your time constraints are and how much you're willing to add on to your plate. Because just because you have a rental that's nice, fixed up, pretty, and just because you have nice tenants doesn't mean things are going to be easy all the time. Tenants are temporary. Never trust tenants, right? Never, right? It's personal experience. Ding, ding, ding. Don't trust tenants. So things are not always going to be peachy, right? Especially if you are the manager and they know you're the owner. When tenants know you're the owner, things can go certain ways. They can go good ways, they can go bad ways. So that's a personal preference thing. I do suggest that you guys manage your own properties first before you hire somebody else. Let's see who we got. A couple of people. But yeah, that's how I would answer that on Reggie. If you plan on buying a house and you don't plan on living in that area for a while, and you say, hey, I'm still going to buy this house and in 2 years I'm going to move, at that point you hire a property manager, right? You can't manage the house from afar without a property manager. It's just not smart. So in that regard, yeah, hire a manager. I'm actually probably going to hire a third manager here soon. But that's just me. I like to try different people. I like to try different managers because not all property managers are created the same. Not all of them manage the same. And some are better than others. There is a such thing as a bad property manager. Just because they manage properties or just because they say they manage properties doesn't mean they're going to be a good property manager. So, and that is why I say you gotta manage first so you can know what to say, how to interview, and what to look for when somebody says, hey, I want to manage your properties, or you're trying to interview to give somebody your houses to manage. Because again, it's just like entrusting a daycare with your child. You don't just take your child to any old daycare and say, here, have him or have her. No, what do? You interview different daycares because that's your baby, that's your child. You want to make sure they're in the right hands and they're going to treat your child right and do all of the right things to make sure your child is in the best care as possible. Essentially, you're going to do the same thing with your houses, right? So always vet property managers, always ask questions, always make sure that you It's an interview. It's not a friendship. It's an interview, right? And it's a business, right? If you're managing my properties, I need you to be on point. Because a lot of things about property management is about being on point and being thorough. You have to be thorough. You have to have good record keeping. You have to have good documentation, and you also have to have tough skin, and you also have to be able to and willing to confront confrontation at any point in time and abide by the rules that you set. Right, that's the most important thing when it comes to property management, and making sure that you are providing the best return of investment for the property owner. That is the job of a property manager. So again, a lot of responsibility. Choose wisely. Do enough vetting, and if you feel like you can get the job done better than your manager or better than a manager, then go manage it yourself. So, Sax Therapist, what's going on? I don't know if I've ever seen you before on here, but if you are new, feel free to ask me any questions, anything real estate. I'm doing this every Thursday. We're about 25 minutes in right now. I usually spend about an hour on here talking about real estate and asking you guys any questions. And if you guys have any questions, I usually answer them. I do my best to answer them. But yeah, other than that, again, just making sure you guys share the show, let folks know what I'm doing, let folks know this is a safe space to talk and ask any and everything that you might have thought you knew or might have Googled and got confused and stuff like that. So you can also comment down below with your questions, but you can also join me on the live if you feel the need to. So yeah, other than that, while we're waiting on any new questions or new people to join, I'll go ahead and talk about my week. So over the past week, I've been in this house every single day from probably about 9 o'clock to about 11 o'clock at night with my father, and we've been trying to close out this rehab. Now, this is not a normal rehab. We've been working on this house for probably about 4 months now. And so with this house, it's a little bit more special than in your average rehab that I would do because I'm actually going to be moving in here. So instead of like when you're flipping a house or renovating a house or renovating rentals, a lot of the time I get some of the same stuff. I get some of the same materials. I get the same paint. I get the same countertops. I get the same tile. I get the same flooring. All of this stuff is the same because it's repetition, and they're also rentals. So once I find the materials that I like, I typically stick with them when it comes to my rentals, and I don't really change up much because, again, you're just trying to churn out rentals and do the same thing over and over again. You want to create a system and make sure that system you can transfer from one property to the other. So your rentals should all look the same. If you want them to be different, that's fine, but you're going to spend a lot more time dealing in the weeds and the grass of the details instead of doing what is the most important thing, renovating your house, getting it done quickly, and putting tenants in there. If every single house you try to renovate and do differently, you're going to spend a lot of time, doing that. And it's going to be a lot more stressful, right? You want to process. It's the same thing with flipping. These guys that flip these houses, the good ones, guess what? They have a process, they have a system. They're all using the same materials, and they're using the same materials so much that their contractors know what to do and what to put into these houses consistently because it doesn't change. The same paint colors, the same trim, the same flooring. Now, the difference when you would change up these things is if you're in a different area that requires change. You want to match your renovations with the area. So my flip that I do in the city is going to be different from the flip that I do by the water, right? Different areas call for different themes. You know what I'm saying? My flip in the city is going to be different than my flip that's going to be way out in the county in a rural area, right? The designs are different. You're not going to put a modern-esque type design in a country, rural area flip. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to do a modern-esque type design, sleek and all that kind of stuff near the water. You know what I'm saying? Because the themes are different, the areas are different, right? Now, don't put too much emphasis on this because it's not that detailed, but just know that by the water in downtown are like apples and oranges. Think of it like that. Downtown and the suburbs, or downtown and the countryside, are apples and oranges. So would you do the same flip or put the same materials and flips in your flip that's downtown as you would in the country? No, right? Different. Pay attention to the comps, right? So anytime you're looking at comparables for where you're going to be flipping, what do? You look at who else is renovated in that area, the highest solds. What did those highest solds look like? This is almost like a copycat league. You're not going to come in here and do something drastically different than anybody else has done, right? And sometimes if you do a drastic change like that, and all the other houses that sold high up here, and then they sold high up here because they looked they looked a certain way and they had certain features, go off of that. That's your study guide, right? You're not going to come in there and do something completely different and expect that you're going to get the highest dollar, because people in those areas might expect a certain type of theme, right, for your houses. And you can look at a lot of comps and comparables, and there's a pretty standard way standard look to rehabs, right? Gray walls, or like soft tan walls, white trim, gray floors, a lot of gray, a lot of white, shaker white cabinets, granite countertops, gray with a sprinkle of black in the granite countertops, the tile in the bathroom is like, contemporary colors, white, gray, black, sometimes people add little pops and things like that. So another thing people do to differentiate themselves, they all do kind of like the same rehab. It all looks the same. Anytime you're looking for a brand new house to live in, you look at these rehabs, they all kind of look the same color schemes, all that kind of stuff. But the way people differentiate themselves is like the sizzle items, like this is what I learned from my last, the guy I used to work for. They're called sizzle items, right? So you can have everything kind of like the same, right? Paint color, floor color, different variations, right? But where you add your own twist to things that is not going to be detrimental to the actual overall look of the house and compromise your selling, where you end up selling the house at, is sizzle items, right? So door handles, knobs, wine cooler in the kitchen, what are those things in the kitchen where like the pot water thing. So they got these things where like you put it over this, they're over the stove, and it swings out. It's like this arm that swings out over the pot, and you twist the handle and like water comes out, so you can fill your pots up from the stove. Sizzle items, right? Different things like doors. Like people get real creative with door colors. They'll buy a door and they'll paint it red. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen a lot of red doors. Sometimes you see people do like turquoise, or I've seen purple. People like to do all the same type of rehabs, but then add their own little flavor to it. So maybe a different color door, or maybe a wonky little color tile in a bathroom, sizzle items, things like that. But you don't want to like have all your 10 comps that you're using to go off your rehab all look one way, and then your house looks completely different. Don't recreate the wheel, guys. When you're flipping, you want to find a sustainable system and figure out, and you want to match you want to match the design themes that are going on in the market. After a certain point, design themes fade, right? So, you'll find that back in the day, hexagon tile on floors was a big thing, right? Then over time, it faded out and you got to more square tiles or rectangle tiles. And now you're starting to see hexagon tiles fade back in. So design trends are just what I said. They're trends, right? So you got to follow the trend. They don't change every month. They change over a period of time. But you have to be actively looking in the market and looking at comparables to see when things are starting to trend to other design features. Pinterest is going to be your friend. Google is going to be your friend. All those things you want to be actively looking at to get some ideas of what's going on. Also, you got areas where you might you might put a boat ton of money in there to pimp out your house, but the area doesn't. You look at the other houses in the area, and they're not renovated to that scale, and your house is like a sore thumb, right? Or you put too much money into it, and then that's all ultimately going to eat up your returns on the back end side, because you're doing a pimped out palace in an area that doesn't require it. So again, you don't want to spend more money than what you have to, right? And if you have a system and everybody else is doing kind of like the same thing, do the same thing, but add a little bit of flavor with some sizzle items. That's what you do. You don't do a completely different new renovation. So it looks like we got a couple new people. The Real Talk, Dewberry, what's going on? Rush joined us. What's going on, Rush? Yeah, facts, man. That is exactly what happens. Yeah, all these houses look the same. Repo's gray. That's the gray color. Repo's gray. Sometimes you see a little white. But most of the time it's like repost gray or like a contemporary color associated with gray, like a brownish orange, not brownish orange, but like a beigeish kind of color. You see those. It's kind of like the same colors, man. Nothing really changes. So again, we're about 35 minutes into our IG live session where we're talking anything, everything real estate, answering any questions, ask me anything. I'm willing to answer them to the best of my abilities. While I'm waiting on new questions and while I'm waiting on y'all to ask people to join and things like that, get back to what I was talking about. So yeah, we're here renovating this house. I have to be out of my apartment by Tuesday. So I need to finish this rehab. And so that's why me and Pop's been going so hard in here, is because we got to finish, right? And I'll let you guys know this too as well. I had a crew that was working in here and they didn't work out, right? And so that's what happens. Contractors, you're not always going to have contractors that stick with you forever, right? Just because a guy is good today doesn't mean he's going to be good tomorrow. These guys change, in an event that happened with me. I had guys that I was working with and it just didn't work out. So I'm here picking up the pieces because I need to, right? That's my responsibility. And so I have to be in this house by Tuesday. So guess what? I'm going to be in this house by Tuesday. Coach PJ Cooney, what's going on, brother? How you living? First time here talking anything, everything real estate. Ask me any questions you might have. If you want to buy your first house, you want to buy your first rental, if you want to buy your Sorry, I had a call. Appliance guy's calling me, but he can wait next 20 minutes. Getting ready to do a rental on my rental. That's Real Talk Dewberry. What's going on with that, man? Let me know about that. How's that going? Have you ever done a renovation before? What are you looking at putting into it? What kind of level of rehab are you talking about doing to this rental? What is your projected cost after you get done? You can also join the live. The appliance guy keeps calling me. I will call him back in 20 minutes. We're actually ordering appliances today. Stoves, kitchen, stove, refrigerator, and dishwasher. We're ordering today, so that's why he keeps calling me. I called him before we got on the call and he didn't pick up, so I'm gonna call him back after we get off the call. But yeah, Real Talk Dewberry, let me know what's going on. Oh yeah, my man's gonna join. Hold on. See what my man's to join. He just requested. I'm gonna get a little information about somebody.
What's up, bro?
What up, man? How you living, bro?
Living good, man. Can't complain.
Good. Happy you joined, man. I'm definitely curious to know about your experience and what you plan on doing with your rental.
So I'm getting ready. I got the equity I need out of it now, so I'm getting ready to turn that bad boy. I'm gonna keep it real light. I'm just putting in countertops and a backsplash, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Now you're already renting it, right? You're already renting it?
I've been renting it for about 3 years now.
I think your volume went out.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I've been renting it for about 3 years now.
Okay.
And
And
so,
this is the
yeah.
only renovations you've done to the house, right?
Well, it's had upgrades over time from
Mm-hmm.
various owners.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I put a brand new paint job in it, et cetera, et cetera. But I think I'm just gonna keep it real light. Just put the granite in,
Yeah.
backsplash, and it's like a townhouse on a lake or whatnot. So
Yeah.
nothing major.
Like you're doing like a cosmetic renovation.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this, right? Because I know the answer. Are you doing this in between turnover, or are you doing this while the tenant's in there?
Oh, when they get out.
Smart, right?
Yeah. Because I don't
Smart.
want them to destroy my work.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Out of
Now,
spite, probably.
right. Now, since you're doing this renovation and you're adding a little value to the house, are you going to up the rent for the next tenant to make up for the money you put into that renovation?
I think I'm probably just gonna let it go.
Hmm. Why is that?
Um, it's reached that equitable point that
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna take that capital and put it into other flips.
gotcha, gotcha. Now, is this your first deal or you've done some flips before?
I'm gonna get ready to go into that's gonna be my first one.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. How did that rental perform for you over the 3 years? Like what was that experience like?
It was really good. It worked out really well. Had one experience where I had to evict someone, but I think that was just like a learning curve of,
Yeah.
just hiring people with responsibilities and really good jobs and just not taking paperwork saying this guy's a student with 100K in his bank account. So
Dad.
once that learning curve increased,
Yeah.
definitely
What
think it started working out really well.
what was the biggest lesson? Was that the biggest lesson?
I would say so because I think everything that happened was to be expected, i.e., I had to replace an AC, but on my inspection, I kind of knew that was coming. So,
Yeah.
I prepared for everything
Yeah.
that was going to happen. So,
Yeah.
it worked
Prep
out.
Preparation is key, man, and that first rental is always like the toughest to get going, and you learn a lot of hard lessons. Like, my first rental, same thing you did, right? I vetted the tenant, but I didn't vet them like that. I think I was like up against I was spending a lot of money in holding costs, and so it got to a point where I was just like, I'm going to take this guy, even though he's kind of questionable.
Yeah.
And it came back and ended up biting me in the butt,
Yeah.
and that's the bad part about like renting is like, people will say, okay, well, I've been holding this property for 2, 3 months and my funds are depleting. I just need to get somebody in here. There's good and bad to that, right? If you're cash strapped, do what you got to do. But if you can afford to wait another month or two, I always advise wait for a better tenant than just putting anybody in there. Because you and I both know evictions are not fun. Having people in your house that haven't been paying and destroying your property is not fun. Uh, yeah, it can be a headache. Your volume's low again.
It's an expense to get it relisted. It's an expense to get it recleaned, repair whatever damage they did. So it's an all around loss. So it's
Yeah.
better to wait, those couple of months than to go right into it.
Now let me ask you this: how did you decide on whether or not what deciding factors? Well, what in your mind made you say I'm going to manage this property myself versus give it to a property manager?
There's no money in property managers. Um, because there's a common misnomer that a lot of people think, oh, they're just going to take care of it. They're going to look out for my best interest. But a lot of times they'll have these clauses that'll say anything under $500, we don't have to notify you to repair.
Yes.
So that property manager will have like their husband or their friend come in, do the repair, and charge you $4.99 and not have to update you.
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
what a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, man. Like I had like my first property manager, like I was the same way. I dealt with that first tenant, and once I got done with him, I was so
Yeah.
exhausted from managing. I was like, I don't want nothing to do with this. I'm going to give it to a manager, and I'm going to go about my own way.
Yeah.
And for the first couple months, it worked out fine. But then when I started getting those monthly statements, and I
Oh yeah.
set my threshold to like $500, right? I said, don't
Yeah.
call me unless it's over
Daddy, I
$500.
want to talk.
Hold on.
I started getting that monthly statement, and I started looking on there. I was like, okay, $80 here, $300 here. I was like, what is this $80 charge? Oh, the stove wasn't working, and we sent a technician out to fix it. Okay, well, how did they fix it? Oh, they just flipped the breaker. $80. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have did that myself.
Yeah.
You got a drywall. I had like a 3x3 hole in the wall, and they quoted me for like $400 to patch a
I
hole in the
want to
wall. It's
talk.
like, oh no way. So at that point is when I learned. I was like, you know
Yeah,
what?
man.
Set my threshold to zero. Call me for any and every repair, and I will decide whether I'm going to go out there or I'm going to hire my own guys to do it. Worst case scenario, you guys do it, but me
Yeah.
first. You know.
Yeah, it's a very lucrative industry to be in for people who, may live out of town. But if you're in town, and really you can even do it from out of town, you just need to have that trusted handyman that you just send over there, and he'll send you that invoice. So
Yes, your
yeah,
team is important. It's your property manager, and it's funny we talking about property managers because I'm in the process of looking for another property manager right now, but but they're not all created the same, right? And
yeah,
they're not all thorough. They're not all. Everybody's different,
Stop
so
it.
you got to shop around. Just because somebody said they can manage your
Stop
property
it,
doesn't mean they're going to do it
little
well.
baby.
You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? And it's also about your it's also about like your lifestyle, right? How busy are you? Right? Can
yeah,
you afford to manage? Can you afford the headache, right? Me
yeah,
personally, I can't well, I'm not going to say can't because if I have to I will, but I got other stuff I got to do, right? But I've learned not to be hands off. I still need to be involved and I need to be called for every little thing so I can decide.
yeah.
Because if you leave it in the manager's hands, you're going to get charged.
You're
And
gonna be killed. Like
yeah, yeah.
it's like a leak. So you know it. It's a learning curve. I feel like everybody goes through it. You have to find that right person. But when I learned it was a lucrative industry is when you'll see most property managers. It's like a husband and wife duo. Like
Yeah,
it'll be the husband be the realtor and the wife be the handyman or vice
yeah.
versa. And then together they're just family
Killing it,
business,
killing it,
killing
killing
it.
it.
So
And one thing I also realize is for the folks that don't do anything to their houses
yeah,
or like do any repairs, they get eaten alive. And where they make the most money is turnover.
yeah,
So when I remember I would have turnover happen and the property manager will go over there and they'll give me a quote and they'll say, yeah, to clean this house up and get the new next tenant in, it's going to be, $1,500. And I'm like, well, the only thing you're doing is slapping some paint on the walls and covering up the scuffs on the floor and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, well, this is the price. I'm gonna go do that myself,
yeah,
And for the folks that don't have the time, they pay that, And I'm like, And then on top of that, you pay that, and then you also relinquish that first month rent when they go find a tenant. So you might be out a couple $1,000s before you
yeah,
find your next tenant,
yeah. I
you
mean,
know?
not only is there the turning cost, right? So you have to turn it. Most of it, the turning, like I've turned a property like about 3 times by myself.
Yeah.
You go in there with your putty kit, your putty, your speckle. You go in, you turn it, and I have a cleaning crew that'll come in and turn it. And
Yeah.
so it's something that might take you maybe a day. It's minor stuff, minor touch up.
Right.
Somebody might try and charge you $1,500 for. With yourself, it's free.
Right.
So
And,
it's
and that's where you get and that's why it's important for your first house to spend as much time in it as possible. And
hmm
that is where you actually learn a lot of this stuff during turnover because a lot of things break or little small minor things like that. You guys can do that, right? You don't need a contractor to do that kind of stuff. Go do the paint. Go fix the toilet or whatever. Like that's where you learn about your house. And that's where you get the experience to do some of these things that you're paying contractors crazy money to do. And then once you do it, you realize, oh, this is easy. And I'm paying this guy how much to do this kind of stuff? Volume, volume.
Oh, sorry. So I remember one of the things I needed to do prior to turning property was the refrigerator handle was broken. So, I went to the appliance store to buy a new fridge handle. It's about $200, would take a
Hmm.
couple of weeks.
Hmm.
I went in there with Gorilla Glue, fixed it. Went in
Yeah.
with my putty, fix it. So I'll take care of everything. I just don't mess with electrical. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I don't mess with.
Yeah, true, true. And
That's
that's another thing you learn too is like you also learn how to like MacGyver things and like work around like certain things because
yeah.
a lot of times in rentals you don't really want to replace something that's not working.
No.
And if it's if it's just a little deficient, then you find a way to make it work, right? And you know what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you do a little couple unconventional things, but at the end of the day, if you're done and it looks good and it still functions properly,
It is what it is, man.
you save the money, right? I've
Yeah.
spray
But
painted and
and I
hid
think you
things.
I think you touched on something that's really important. So I feel like when people are in this business, sometimes people get this grand idea that they want to cultivate, a property to what their vision is, and they overdo it. Like you got to go in there, you got to do the
Yes,
bare minimum, look
yes,
at the comps, and just
yes,
make it happen. That's all you got to
yes,
do.
yes.
But
Do
good brother,
not go ahead.
I gotta hop off. I got a work meeting coming up. So
Appreciate you
be in
joining
touch.
me,
Thanks for
man.
having me on.
Hey, no doubt, man.
We'll
See you
talk
next
more.
week. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So that was my boy. Definitely dropping some knowledge and experience. That's firsthand experience. And I'm actually glad he came on because he really just kind of uh, reaffirmed the things that I said. And he's got his own rental, so he's been through some of the same things. And it's not nothing new that I'm telling you, right? Every property owner kind of experiences the same thing, right? Especially if you have rentals. You're going to go through turnover. You're going to go through bad tenants. You're going to go through maintenance problems. You're going to go through it all. Like it's not a peachy scene, it's not a peachy scene, and a lot of your experience, everybody else is going through the same thing. And there's no joke and there's no lie when I sit here and say, spend as much time in your house because not only as much as you don't want to, it's going to help you and it's going to give you the experience you need to be able to do the next house better, right? The only way you're going to learn some of these times is through mistakes, right? So, if your tenant just moved out and you got turnover and, they left the house, in a moderate mess, and your property manager says, hey, we'll clean this up for you and get it nice, spick and span for you for $2,000 or $2,500, and you pay that. And then you actually go in there and you see what they did, and you see that they just painted. You see that they just added some new carpet. You see that they just wiped some stuff off and did some touch-up paint. You'd be like, $2,500 is a lot of money for that kind of stuff. I probably could have did the same thing if I spent a weekend in here or a couple days in here. Paint, you can paint, right? You can hire somebody else to do carpet because the only thing these managers do is, and I'm not crapping on managers, right? Because I like managers, they make my life easier. I'm just telling you the pros and cons to the management services and what to look for. These management companies will either have their own in-house team of guys or they will outsource to somebody else. So basically, they're playing the middleman. So if you have a repair that costs, if you have a repair and you say, hey, manager, take care of this, what they're going to do is they're going to call somebody else. And that somebody else might say, hey, yeah, it's going to take $500 to fix that. Well, your management company is going to add their percentage on there just for making that call and outsourcing the work. And your total might end up being $1,000 for that same thing. That's how they make their money. Property managers make their money on turnover and repairs. They don't make their money off that 10%, right? Because if you have a portfolio, if you're managing a portfolio of 100 houses, or if most of your houses that you're managing, you're getting 10%. Let's say that's like $100. You're not really making that much money based off that 10%. You make your money doing repairs for folks because you're marking it up, and you also make your money doing turnover for folks. Listen, if your life is busy and you can't afford to spend time in your rental so be it. I get it. Completely understand. So I'm not saying that the way you're doing it is a bad way. What I am saying is that if you have the opportunity to get into your house and spend that time in your house, do so that you can get the experience. That's the main thing you want. You're not going to really know how to do some of these things if you don't get in there and actually do it. Don't be scared, right? Just because you haven't done these things before doesn't mean you can't do it now. YouTube is your best friend. I'll say it again. YouTube is your best friend. I go to YouTube and watch a lot of videos on how to do a lot of this stuff. I've never laid tile before. I've been here laying tile, right? Looking at videos for every step. There is a plethora of videos. So it's really just takes a can-do attitude, right? And if it's your house, it's your baby, spend the time in it, right? You spend all that money to buy it. Nobody else is going to treat your house better than you will. And also, you're not in this business to continue to shell out money, 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 money. You're here to save money and reinvest that money. And if that means that you save an extra 10, 20% each year by doing some of these repairs yourself or just outsourcing it to your own guys, then you do that. So that's why that's important. um, but yeah, considering the fact that everybody's logged off, I think we're closing in on an hour. Uh, Closing in on an hour here in about 4 or 5 minutes. I want to say a couple of things before we do close out. So, so one thing for sure, these things are going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing these sessions 12 o'clock Thursdays. Really, I chose 12 o'clock because guess what? I mean, most people are still not working, COVID, all that great stuff. So, it's okay to join. I might start doing night sessions so people are actually not at work or on Zoom meetings and stuff like that so that you guys can actually have time to join. And you know what? Maybe I'll do one tonight. I don't know. Maybe I'll do one tonight and see how many people I can get on there because people are not at work and have the actual time to, kind of join and ask freely or even know about it. Because if you're at work right now and this is going on and you're not able to look at your phone, you would never know. So maybe I'll change up and do a night session or an evening session and see what the turnout looks like. But also, I'm going to be posting videos of some of the work that I've done, some of the work, so you guys can see kind of like what my life is like when I do some of these jobs or when I go out on appointments or, certain things. So I got a lot of video content coming. Um, I got a lot of video content coming. And also, again, I just want to create the space to where you guys can have these kind of dialogue, just like my boy just joined and we had very good dialogue. And that's what I want to see. I want to see folks that are, actively engaged and want to learn and want to participate and want to have these discussions because a lot of times, when you're starting out in this business, it's like where to start. And the only place to start, you start looking on the internet. And the internet's going to tell you as much as you need to know, but personal experience and linking up with people that actually do these things are completely different than what you'll find on the internet. There's a lot of foundational things on the internet, but personal experience is going to teach you a lot more. So it's going to take you to actually do things to learn this stuff versus just sitting and looking at things on the internet and thinking that you have all the knowledge you need. So that's why these discussions are important. That's why it's important to reach out to other folks and let them know to come join me, come have these discussions so we can basically share the knowledge, share the wealth, right? Everybody wants to buy the block, just buy the block, right? Everybody wants to buy a house, and a lot of times when you're starting in this business, you don't really know anybody to confide in or ask any questions. So that's why I'm creating this space, right? When I first started, I didn't have anybody to kind of talk to. I just did it, and that could also be the reason why you feel like um, you can't do it or you can't make the next step, which is actually action. Because you're scared or because you don't have that mentorship. So that's why these are important. That's why I'm making myself available to you guys. And I want to make sure that you guys, join and participate and share with anybody else. So I'm going to do exactly what I said at the beginning of the video by cutting this short before my timer runs out so I can actually save this video and so I can post it on my timeline. Unlike last week when Instagram crapped on me and did not do what I said, allow me to share the show. So 45 seconds in, I'm not going to push it to the limit. Again, join me next week, Thursday, 12 o'clock, noon for these sessions. I will maybe do a session tonight. We'll see. But I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining. Tune in next week.